Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Rally Podcast. I'm Mike White here with Shaun Boyer and Logan Cornelius, and it's the first episode of the year. Of course,
Woo-hoo.
on paper, the season isn't set to start until April, but we still have some things to talk about. So today we're going to get into a couple things. First, we're going to start off with talking about the lost season. Of course, the lost season one we talked about a couple months ago. That was our ESPN2 broadcast featuring a college championship. But there was actually a little to be continued at the end. So it is returning. It will be returning this Sunday at noon Eastern on ESPN2. And we can't share all the details because you got to watch it to find out. But we'll share as much as Shaun Boyer allows us to.
The second episode, better than the first, if I say so myself. It isn't going to be a total storyline follow after the first. We got a couple of the same teams back out there, UGA and OSU, and then got some West Coast teams. Had some great matches. We took into account some of the feedback from the community, just in terms of commentary and other little things. And we're moving towards a more like story-driven approach. So this is really going to focus on some of the players and their backgrounds and how they came up in the sport, which I think is really cool. And we've got some fun little aspects in there that we've just been experimenting with, and I'm excited to see what people think. And you might recognize a couple of the commentators, familiar voices in there, but
might recognize more than you did last time.
Yeah, probably.
That is fair. I know. When I watched it back, I think, well, people will see, but it is a little different from the first one. I think many changes in the right way. But it's more of a, not a documentary approach, but it's a lot different from just matches. It's especially very different from our first three broadcasts in the past at Summer Spike, Lancaster, and College Nationals.
Yeah, and I think it's important when people watch this, especially people who know the sport very well and the community very well, is like, as producers on the Spike Ball side of thing, we're still trying to figure out the best way to showcase the sport, and so I don't think we have it totally figured out, and we may not for the next foreseeable future, but I think we're moving towards the right place, which is, all we can ask for.
I want to ask, so I did watch it, but I'm just going to ask you, are there any sick reverse cuts in there?
Let's put it this way. There's some very good serving throughout the games, maybe a reverse cut or two.
And some good rallies. So there actually have been some rallies already posted on Instagram, on our Instagram reels.
There are some teases out there to give some people a little taste. But yeah, this Sunday, 12 p.m. Eastern, the full thing.
Yes, I think we are excited about this one. So please share it, family and friends. We think it'll be a fun one. And then, of course, we'll probably hear the feedback from the community and maybe have another discussion on it on our next episode, talking you through it. And essentially, I know there's thoughts about what to do from here, but it'll be cool to see kind of what people think about this one. So, all right, but now that's out of the way, just because I wanted to touch on it because I'm very excited as well. Although I think I'm gonna miss it live. So I'll probably watch it back on Chris Hornasek's stream because he's streaming it.
DVR it, Mike.
Yeah, I'll DVR it. I'm not that fancy. I don't have DVR. I got TiVo.
Well, it's on. The first one is on ESPN Watch. You can pull it up online and watch it. So I'm sure the second one will be up there. Yeah.
Oh, all right, guys. If you haven't seen the first one and want to watch it, it's up on ESPN Watch. What do you search for? Spike Ball the Lost Season, ESPN2. It'll probably come up. Anyway, moving on. It is now January, which means it's officially preseason. I guess that's debatable. Some people that are probably more hardcore are like October 16th, day after Nationals. It's preseason. We're out here grinding, but it's kind of preseason.
Important question is, when does postseason end and when is preseason end? Like when is the off season? When is the preseason?
There's no off season. No off season.
Yeah, trick question. You guys got it right.
I think previously in the years past, when there was the Flurry tournament in December for a couple of years, you could say off season was Nationals to like the Flurry, and then you're back and you're in preseason now.
Okay, I'm pretty sure there's been more seasons without the Flurry now than there have with the Flurry.
I'm just saying back in the day, it was a nice little little reminder, like, hey, you guys can do nothing. But I remember one year I absolutely treated it as a full off season and didn't play once until the flurry, and then I was like, wow, I'm way worse. So I think if you're more serious, there's probably not much of an off season. You're probably constantly going. But during the preseason, there's people that are training a lot. We also see a lot of team switch ups. So I kind of wanted to ask, do you think because there wasn't a 2020 season, do you think all the teams that formed in 2020 will stay together, or do you think they'll just kind of scrap them and go elsewhere?
I mean, I think this is probably a boring take. Oh, dog alert. But I think it'll be a mixture of both. I think some teams, like I saw, like I think Toast is planning on playing the season together. But then, like I know in Texas, there might be some like mix up in some Texas teams. But then other teams, I think will stay together and some won't. So we'll probably see a mixture of both.
Do you think that most team breakups are due to performance issues or just like time passing and people phasing away? Because if it's the latter, then I would anticipate some new teams this year, just because, you know, some people don't have the same availability they did last year.
Yeah, I mean, golly, I want to say both again. I'm bringing the lukewarm takes today. It's probably a mixture of both. Like there's some people just like performance issues, and then others just like, hey, like, you know, they were able to compete in 2020 and maybe 2021 is looking less likely. So
yeah, I think probably a lot of it can be performance. I think we may see it. I don't know which is more. I think, right. So we didn't have 2020. So the teams, they can't say we did our year and we didn't do great, so let's split up. So I think we'll have more sticking together from that. But as far as like logistics are also much more complicated, right? Teams also stay together because someone had a new job, or they moved, or they're just less interested in round net for this year, or they don't live, you know. So, and I think that's also more prevalent this year. So I guess I think we'll see a good amount, but I don't know how much people are thinking about that. I don't know how skeptical or people are feeling about this season. I think regardless, there have been independent tournaments going on, but I know a lot of people haven't been sticking with their team.
Yeah, it's kind of been like the Wild West out there. I feel like once the first few SRA events come back and start up, there's going to be a lot of excitement and hype, and teams finally getting a chance to kind of prove themselves on that stage.
For sure. And I think you did make a good point. Like with a lot of the independent events, a lot of people playing with different partners. I think that would be another reason people might mix up. Like they had a set partner, but then 2020 was mostly spent like playing with lots of different people. And might be like, oh, like I really enjoyed playing with this person. Or maybe someone was where they were able to play a lot and someone else wasn't able to play. And so that's kind of like, oh, well, I was able to play a lot, they weren't, mix it up. So I think there's a few reasons that could have happened to mix it up as well.
And right, the reason people play together is to get those points, to get those pro bids, and to get better together. I think once we have a better understanding, right? I think in the true preseason fashion, I think we will see teams start to play together in these couple months leading up until the season, because they'll want that practice together, because, you know, pro bids and premier bids are going to be on the line again. You know, when they were playing last August, they knew that wasn't the case, but now it'll be the case. But a separate situation that kind of also, I think a fun thing will be seeing how the power rank stacks up and however that comes back, because we do not have much stuff against each other. I've been listening to some other Roundup podcasts, and they're talking about all these new teams, and there's not much interaction around the country right now, which is a given. But these new teams, really, you don't know how to place them. I see takes on so many different sides, either hyping teams up a ton or like being skeptical of them. And I think going into the season, there's going to be a lot of cross-country disagreements about how good people are.
Well, I think even going into like a normal season with a normal off season, like we talked about, there's that same sort of ambiguity and not really cohesion across the country. We haven't had an SR event for close to over a year now. So it's going to be amplified coming into this. It's going to be all over the map.
Yeah, and I one thing I think that is interesting too is like the scenario you're describing, like we kind of saw on like a larger, grander scale, like when it comes to like college football. Like I follow college football pretty closely, but like conferences weren't playing out of conference. Everyone was playing just within their conference. So leading up into like the postseason, all the bowl games, there's a lot of disagreement on teams that how good they were compared to other teams. And like even there, a clear number 4 team got snubbed there going into the college football playoff. And so people just didn't necessarily know. So it will be interesting seeing the disagreement. Sorry, my dog is growling at someone walking by. The clear disagreements on how good people are. And I think one thing I've seen in 2020 is this rise of kind of like the newer ballers and the younger ballers talking about how good these newer and younger teams, and kind of being dismissive of like these veteran teams that have been around a while. Like I've seen some discussions where like people are ranking top players and it like consists of a bunch of like newer, younger players, and then a name of like someone who's had a lot of experience and done really well at tournaments is kind of dismissed, like, maybe they'd be in this list. And it's like, for me, as like, I guess for all of us probably like who are more OGs, like how do you dismiss that? So that is something that I think is going to be really interesting. Is like their 2020 really formed this idea of like these new players and how dominant they are, and a lot of like the older, more OG players haven't played, and so that's going to be an interesting storyline I'm going to be following this season.
Yeah,
I feel like that's been the case for a while now, and especially in a sport that moves so fast and turns over, and the meta changes, and of course you're biased towards the people you play with or you see play. That these young guns, like, they don't care how many tournaments you've won in the past, because they know that they can hit a crazy serve that's going to ace however many people they play. And so it's understandable, but yeah, it is this weird dynamic of like changing of the guard with not really a respect of where it was, not intentional or malicious, but just like an ignorance to like what got it there.
Yeah. And like the gap year creates even more of that. Cause even if you look in the past, like in general, the top teams have kind of remained at the top more or less. And so it's like, for me, it's like, I have a hard time believing that like 1 year is going to change that. But it seems like there's kind of this like growing belief that like, a lot of these older teams are going to be overtaken. Like it'll happen because of 1 year. And I'm not convinced.
If you look back the past 5 years, right? Peter John, Showalter, Tyler Cisek consistently in the top, right? Ryan Fitzgerald in the top, Jarrett Rouse in the top, Preston in the top, like, and the new teams come in, but right, like Hilltop came in, but then they were solidly in the top. Kenny Ortega was in the top for 3 years, right? Like Chris Hornacek's always in that area, and you have such a mix of new guns keep shuffling in, but you also have the older folk that are just that hold that up. And you see such a dynamic where like the seven city team could be two teams that two people that have been playing for 10 years or 7 years, we'll say. And then and then next to them at 8 is people that play for like a year. and it's so it's so hard to judge these new players all the time too, because they're just coming in and they can't.
But the crazy part too is, in that example of the 7 and 8 teams, that could be a very accurate placement, because they could be on the same skill level, which is just testament to like how little time and how much time you need to like adapt to the evolving but I think there's also a big difference from going from so making top 10 is definitely crazy hard, but I think that's also gets so much harder to keep moving, right? Like the top 4 is always so solidly, it seems to be older players. Of course, that list grows over the year, who's an older player. But, right, Hilltop was one that I guess you could say broke in, but they started playing in 2015, right? Yeah. So, like, they're an older team now. And I think
I know I always keep referencing them because they to me always feel like a newer school team, at least like back in the day. There was like, definitely the strong teams in 2014, 2015, and a little bit 2016, and then Hilltop is this like 2017, 2018, 2019 force. But I think there's also a separate thing of like, these guys are really good. They're going to get in the top 10, that area, but going to the top is a whole different story.
Yeah.
Do you guys think, let's hope all tournaments happen this year. We have a national championship. How many of the top 5 teams at nationals will be the same as last year?
Same as last year? Or you mean like players?
Let's make it easier. Yeah, players. How many players will still be in that top 5?
I think so. I thought originally you were going to ask, like, how many do you think would be like new? We'll say old school versus new school. I'm not going to put an exact definition about it, but that's a more general way. I think one of the 5, maybe 2 of the 5 will be new school. Yeah. 3 or 4 of the 5 will kind of be like old school, is what I would say. As far as like players and teams, I'd have to sit down and think that through.
So our national championship 2019, right, in the pro division was Cisek, Showalter, Boisterous, Flexual Healing, and Moctega, correct? Right. I guess that's one thing where we haven't seen Cisek, Showalter play much this year. We haven't seen Jared and Travis, I think, been dabbling. I haven't seen much of Kenny and Troy. But truthfully, if you told me they were the top 4 again in any order, I don't think I would be as surprised, right? Or if instead of Flexual Healing, it was now Toast or whoever Jarrett plays with. Although I think Jared is going to mix it up this year. Even though I haven't seen Kenny, I haven't heard Kenny's name at all this year, besides thinking of him in the past. I wouldn't be surprised if Kenny and someone is in the top 4 again.
So you guys think tried and true are going to hold strong and
I think
keep a majority?
I think top 8 is going to be wild. I think top 8 might be different, but I think top 3 is typically tried and true.
And you look at other sports and you see players who are like out for a year with injury. Like you take like Kevin Durant, he was out for a year for injury, comes back, he's still a dominant player. And like with like football, like Marshawn Lynch out for a year, came back, maybe not like the most dominant player, but he's still a solid player. And like Aldon Smith, like on defense, came back and he's still solid. He was out of the game for like 4 years. So like a lot of players who are really good, even if they like were off or like weren't like spending as much time as some of these younger players, they might not come back and be the best, but they'll still be dominant. And I think they'll get back.
But I think with that example, like Durant didn't come back and someone had invented a reverse cut 3-pointer that he now has to defend. Yeah. It's like, it's hard.
I think,
no, you're right.
I think so. We've also seen a lot of crazy performances this year. We saw Max Modell and Gabe Finocchi crush Anchored OI. It was 2 games, but the first game, I think they absolutely crushed them. Right. And like at Utah Nationals, it was Boisterous. It's hard fought against Rahul. It was Rahul and Dan gave him a good fight, and so did Ravi and Gabe. And all of those players, right? Gabe, I hadn't heard of. Ravi was top 3 in the Premier, not even in Pro Division, right? And Rahul and Dan were not Pro Division last year, but they were way up there. So I could be totally off base that all these teams are coming in, but I think it also depends on the length of the season, right? The season is what, 6 months long, or about 5-6 months. They'll have time to learn it and flow it. And I think there will be new players that get in there, but I think the players that have really been strong over the years will continue to be strong. I think the top 25 and the top 50 of players will be very mixed. I think a lot of new players have jumped in there, but it's
well, even like I think one thing that isn't new is that we've seen new teams come in and just storm a tournament. But across a season, it generally, like, that new team can come in and storm a tournament, but then people adjust and adapt. Like Origin Chaos, I think of them, like they took that St. Louis tournament, but then everyone kind of adapted. They didn't win another 3 crowns. they won the Utah Tour Stop. Granted, they didn't play national, so we didn't really get to see a chance if people did adapt to them. But I think they played West. I think they played West regionals.
Right.
I don't remember completely, but generally we see these new teams come in and at least have that one tournament kind of like surprise where they do well. But the thing about long term is more experienced players and in general the field are going to adapt to these players. So with these one-off examples, and especially a season like this last year, it doesn't necessarily surprise me that a lot of these teams like Kayvon had a good performance. And like I feel like even Ryder he had a lot of good finishes throughout the year, but like he came on strong at the beginning of the year, and I felt like he had more good results at the beginning of the season than the end. So I think we have seen a lot of examples of these younger players come on with something new, like they train for the new meta, they come in and they do it, but then everyone adapts. So it'll be interesting to see over a full season how that plays out and if the year did change that.
Yeah, consistency is such an important thing, especially if you want to get the pro bid, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm really curious with our current national champions just being so quiet and off the map for the last year or so, understandably with everything going on, but are they practicing? Are they training at all? Are they getting complacent? Are they just going to step back in and be as nasty as they were before? It's kind of a factor here that I'm really curious to see how it plays out.
So I wish I knew. I probably could just talk to Peter, John, and Tyler about their feelings, but we could. It's more fun to. It's more fun to speculate. It's more fun to speculate.
Way more. Again, speculating gets more views.
So, right, for years we were living in this era of Mr. Boyer here in Chico winning everything.
Who?
Mr. Cornelius winning everything as Chico Spikes.
That's all I was going for.
And then we were in 3 years. All right, CS was challenged a bit more every year, but still won 3 national championships. And I think there's a couple questions. One is, are they playing and practicing? And one is, do they still plan on doing that? And separately, Shaun, you can touch on this. I know for them, continuing to play and continuing to play together and continuing to train is so much different than you and I, right? Like they have all the pressure coming in, right? They have all of the expectations. They have their legacy. And how do you know what they're thinking in their head going into this year?
I mean, I guess we can speculate, and I'll put words in their mouths.
I think you would know. You would know more than anyone.
So I can speak to how I felt, and so how I felt after winning so much was I did get complacent. Like no result at a tournament was good enough unless it was first, and even then it was expected, so it wasn't even that rewarding. And you get to a point where you're like, well, we've won this much, and I don't need to keep putting in work because we're still winning. And then people are going to eventually catch up and beat you, and so they could be getting to a point where. I don't know. There's burnout involved. There's just like indifference to caring because you're a little like numb to winning. It's a weird thing to say, but we'll see. And then also if you factor in just having to keep up with all the new serves and metas and things like that, it's like you can't sit on the sidelines for too long before you're left behind.
One thing I'm thinking about is if I know Tyler, I think us even talking about it makes him want to keep playing. There may be new rules. There's this whole year off. There's whole new serves. I think they could be, they're competitors, right? They could be even more motivated to continue going and to keep proving, no, we're still the best in this new time, a year off and all that. And I think they got challenged a ton more than they've ever been in 2019. And that could be, there's the two ways, right? It could be like, all right, we did it. We got our 3-peat. We had some great times, tons of wins. Like, let's change our perspective. But I think maybe the way they lean is that was fun. They kept us on our toes. We felt that a little bit more and we want more of it.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it went either way. If they're like, maybe they've accomplished all they want to accomplish and the motivation isn't as high anymore, understandable. Or maybe it's like they've just been lying in wait, practicing in the garage. Just they're going to come out to this first SRN event and just smack people. And we'll be like, well, there's the CS we know and remember. And that competitive spirit's still there. I hope that's the case, but who knows?
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I've got 3 thoughts. One thought is that they're still the defending national championships until October 2021. So people better not overthink them, because they're still the defending national champs 3 years running. So I think no matter what, they're going to come out with a force. 2, I think it would not surprise me if they're like, hey, we're going to keep quiet. We're going to keep training. Let people talk. And it wouldn't surprise me. And I'm also really hoping that this is the case, because it'd be kind of epic to see them come out better than ever. Like Shaun kind of touched on, crisper and more motivated. So they're just like, hey, we're not going to show anything. We're not going to talk. And as someone who personally has a vendetta against the Instagram players, I respect people who just go and grind.
Could you elaborate on the Instagram players?
The people who just post the cool servers, but you really know they're not that good, but they look so good on the 3 Instagram videos they posted. And you're like, oh, shoot. So
that's how you hit the power rankings, Logan. Come on.
Yeah, that exactly.
It's all a
game. You want to get on the power ranking, kids? Post cool videos on Instagram.
That's post videos and Venmo me $20 and you'll be on the power ranking.
Yeah, but CS has never really been that kind of team. So it wouldn't surprise me if they've just been grinding silently, keeping it quiet, letting people talk. Because when you are good, so I've been told, it's fun to kind of let people talk and then prove them wrong. So
yeah.
And then my third thought is there's something that's motivating even to old retired folk like Shaun Boyer, and that's the World Championships. And so
that is a great point.
That got Shaun out and playing back in the good old days.
That is a great point. I could definitely see motivation for each of them to be a part of Worlds, but everything is so in the air with our events. It's hard to know.
It's true. So I think they at least want to be prepared to be the marquee team on the Worlds team.
I think as we're talking, I think I want to clarify, I think the real concern isn't if CS has come back for the year, the concern isn't, all of a sudden they're the 7th team. I think it's, are they just number 2, or number 3 or something? So I think the real question is, did Boisterous, Preston, and Caleb overtake them? They split series in 2019, and we've seen Preston and Caleb playing a lot more than we've seen Tyler and PJ playing. And then I think there are some other teams coming back. Like I said, Hilltop looked really good, and a lot of other people are training. So, but I think it's not they're going to be bad. It's just, are they not the number 1 team? And then I think separately, another thing, I just talked about how these good players adapt. And then them being number 1 and dominant all season is also very different from them by October or September for Worlds being the best team,
Yeah. Well,
and
even on that note, I bet when the season starts, I bet they're not number 1 on the PR committee. Not because they're not the best team, just because I bet a lot of people they're not going to be the best team anymore. I bet CS isn't power ranked number 1 when the season starts.
Dude, I'll take that bet.
You think they will be number 1?
They gotta be.
I think you can't take it from them. You can't take it from them.
I don't disagree with y'all. I agree with y'all.
You don't have faith in the committee.
You disagree with the committee. Oh God.
I'm saying the committee won't put them in number 1. I think they should be number 1, but I don't think they're going to be number 1 when the season starts.
Okay.
That's a bold. You're getting hotter, Logan. I like it.
Hey, I gotta throw. I had too many lukewarm.
He's getting closer to the sun.
Oh, that was good.
All right. Wow, that was actually a longer discussion than I had thought. That was pretty good. Also, while talking, I secretly moved over and got a Zoom subscription because I was running out of time.
I did see that. That was nice.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. Thank you. Cool. So I think just to let's see. I think we could probably I don't know how long we've been talking because I don't remember when we've been starting. But
I got a good segue for something we talked about earlier. I can throw that out there.
Yeah, throw it out. I'm kind of lost right now.
Yeah, it's these teams, they're doing well, but one thing mentioned that we didn't talk about is there could be some rules changes that change how teams play.
Right.
Is that a good segue?
Yeah, thank you.
Good segue, Logan.
Well, everyone keeps asking about the rules stuff. So I don't have any actual update that'll make you happy, but I know as board member along with Shaun here, I've seen drafts of the rules. We had a call yesterday to talk through some examples. Some changes we're feeling good about and kind of have green, not green light, but like it's yellow and you're waiting a few more seconds and then it'll turn green. Like you already saw the red the other way. It's already a red light, so you know your green's coming soon. Yeah, yellow doesn't turn to green. That's not how that works. But anyway, so we got there's some others. We're still waiting. We got some good stuff, but still waiting for some more data. And then some others that we're just kind of working through some wording because we know that the wording is very, very important in these rules to make sure they're understandable by everyone and also pretty intuitive. But I think I still know Jack is planning on having them out in the next month or two. I know the season's supposed to start in April. So hopefully it's I think it should be enough time to get some adjustment in. But, I've seen the rules. I've seen all the drafts, just working out the little kinks and the little details.
Mike, you gotta give a little crumb, a little something.
Oh, I don't even know what crumb to give.
I guess it's under wraps.
It's a little under wraps.
Mike's trying to not get kicked off the board. Shaun's trying to get him kicked off.
See, if Jack Scotty was on the call, I would just defer to him. What can we share?
How about this, Mike? How do you think the community will like the changes?
I think the community will be happy with the changes because I think they've Jack and I believe he's working with the data collection committee to test these things, and they seem to be moving in the right direction as far as removing some gray areas and of course trying to help with rallies and increase the enjoyment of the game. So I'm feeling good about them. I think I'm feeling good about them. I forgot it's December. Or that's not December. I just meant to say it's winter. I meant to say it's winter. I want to go out and play and try these things. But one, I don't have friends. And two,
I feel that.
No, I could, but it's just, I want to go and try them more and extensively. So they've been getting me really excited. So I'm excited about them. I feel good about them.
I will say I've heard rumors of the rules and I've heard some of the data, and what I've heard about the data makes me excited for possible rule changes. So
yeah, it's good to know that we're actually testing this stuff out and there's evidence of actually good reason to do it instead of guessing.
So you have no crumbs. You're just kind of mad at me, and all I told you was that it's coming, and it's coming at a date that I don't know. And I have no idea, and that's all. So sorry. Helpful. I'm not the rules guy. I don't have.
You're so good at leaking information, Mike.
I'm so bad. What should I leak? I was thinking of leaking something else, but I'll leak that may have a fun promo in the Spikeball app next week. This is not rules related, but I know some people are interested in that. So if you don't have the Spikeball app, I think you should think about downloading it in the next week or so.
Dang. All right.
That sounds a little too salesy. So I'm back. I'm back. No leaks. All round net. And I guess the question takeaway, because I actually want to hear what people think. So please, if watching this on YouTube, comment below on one. I like Logan's take on who should be number one. Should CS be number one going into the year? And then two, kind of how well do you think these new players kind of will face in there? Kind of what's your take? Like, do you think do you think the top teams for 2019 are going to continue to come back, or do you think there's going to be a whole mix up in the power rankings in the top 10 going into 2021? That's what I want to know.
Should experienced players be respected?
I think the answer is no.
Yeah. When you word it like that, Logan, I mean, no.
No, they don't. Should you respect anyone? That's the real question. No.
Wow,
awesome. Cool. I think that's all we got. We definitely skipped over like kind of a big question, but we kind of just ran with that one for for a long time.
Save it for the next. Save it for the next podcast.
The next.
I mean, there's some. I've given Gasway some heat on some of the questions he's thrown here, but he had some good questions.
Some
this
good
time.
ones.
I'll give him that.
Yeah. All right. I also panic texted him like 10 minutes before. Like, did you write questions? We don't know what to do. We're just lost puppies.
Yeah, we used to be able to do this, but now we can't do it without it.
No, we need your help. So he crushed it. Anyway, all right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We need to get to, that's Instagram. That's the real ask. Go follow the SRA Insta. If you don't follow the SRA Insta, you need to get to 10,000 followers to do swipe up. And so we got to get there fast. So that's the ask. Please go follow the SRA Insta. They got cool stuff. They got feature Fridays. I'll learn about all your favorite players because you just don't care about us three. You want to learn about more people. Swipe up.
We're not even on Future Fridays. So so with that, you don't even have to worry about us.
Yeah, we will never be on Future Fridays. So you don't have to get us there.
I'm actually the first Future Friday. I'm sorry.
Golly.
Andrew asked me questions. I answered them. Here we are.
Wait, so you're actually the next Future Friday?
I think so. Whatever it gets posted. I don't know.
Dang.
All right. Okay. Never mind that.
I didn't know people even knew who you were anymore.
Yes.
They don't. That's why I'm getting featured.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. And then I also want to shout out, because I've been listening to a bunch of them, is the other Round Net podcasts. We got the HTR podcast. We got Round the Realm. I actually listened to the Y Spikes, although they only had 2, but it was a fun little group. It reminded me of back in the day. Just a nice crew.
Y Spike did a couple, and now we're doing the Lone Star State of Round Net.
I haven't checked those out yet.
They're Texas specific. So if you're interested in what's going on in Texas, they're fun. But
I'm not, but I might listen.
Okay. Well, yeah, you should still listen. There's still listen. Dax and Chase do a good job.
All right, guys. Enough filibustering. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. Peace.
See ya.